Hi guys, welcome back to the Jeremy Swenson Racing channel. Today we're going to do a number of different things, but we're going to start with putting some push rods and rockers in this LS1 because I want to measure my push rod length. Well, I know the push rod length, but we need to figure out where we're at. So let's get right into it. And stick around, maybe, depending on how much I get done today, there may be another giveaway towards the end of the video, so don't skip ahead either. I know what you're thinking. So here we are, I'm getting set up. This is what kept me from getting started on this yesterday. I didn't have the originals. I had some aftermarket ones for different rockers. So we've got some 740 push rods here. This is a pretty standard length, and you're probably thinking, why don't you just use an adjustable push rod and then you'll know, and that would be great. I don't have one, so we're gonna go a different route, which I'm going to document right now. There's a few different ways we can come up with our push rod length, and we do have a fair bit of leeway. We're running LS7 lifters, so we have a bit of room to fudge on. So I've got some assembly lube here. We'll just toss it on both ends, and I'm going to install all 8 at once because I am not completely sure if this is going to work or not, but we're just going to install them like it's going to work, and then we'll do our measurements. And if they're correct, we're done on this half. If they're not, we'll take them out. And the reason we're doing that is I've got a shaft rocker system, so we've got to install all 8 at once. I can't just toss 1 or 2 on. So we're going to do it this way. And these are already good and oily. I wonder if you're supposed to clean those. Let me read. It says it's got good lubricants, so we're going to go with that. And yeah, they're soaked and stuff, so I'm not too worried about it. We're just going to toss some break-in lube here, or engine assembly lube, on both ends. And like I said before, we'll have a daily dry sump on this, so these will all get pre-lubed before we ever start the engine. So this really isn't even necessary, but you might as well. Now we've got these beautiful comp shaft rockers. This is the BSR. I've talked about it probably 50 times already. But if you're a value guy like I am, you look for the best value, not necessarily the best of the best all the time, because the best of the best can cost 3, 4, 5, 10 times as much as something that's nearly as good. And if you're like me also, you don't have an unlimited budget for racing, so trying to find the best value is usually where I go. And this, in my opinion, is the best value for what you get for the money. And they've been running great at 700 thousandths lift on my ZR1, and we're not going to be, I think we're at 541 lift on this one, if I remember correctly. So 1 second. Now, before anybody gets too upset, I'm just running these in soft, and then we'll go by hand, because we're going to go just a little bit at a time here. Kind of like you're torquing a head gasket or a head. You go inside out. So I've got these 2 valves seated now. I think they take 22 foot-pounds. I'm a little below that, but I know that I'm seated. So I'm going to back them off and see where we get to zero lash. Okay, that's about zero lash there. And I set up my dial gauge here a little bit earlier. And this is not necessarily the best way to do this, but I think it's going to work. So now, you're not going to be able to see, well, no. You're not going to be able to see this dial gauge, but we're going to figure out how far we're going here. Now, I'm going to tighten this puppy down. And I'd really like it to stop right about now. This might be perfect. We got just over 1/100th. So, and I believe on these applications, that's kind of what you're looking for on an LS7 lifter. That's, I think a lot of builders say 60 to 80 thousandths. Am I saying that right? Yeah, 60 to 80 thousandths. And I've got 100 thousandths now. And so I think that's just about perfect from what a lot of people, some people say run them even further so that there's very little. And I think Richard Holdner, if you subscribe to him, he's a cool guy, and he does tons of tests like this where you run different length push rods just to see how it affects horsepower. So I think this is actually going to be perfect. So I think let's test this one too. Although I don't know if I can set up my downside of an aluminum engine is there's not much to get your magnet to stick to. So I've got it on the engine stand, and that's proved to be pretty secure. But I don't think I've got another option without a longer arm that I don't have to get out further into these other ones. So I think maybe I'll just double check what I've got here. It's a miracle. Okay, let's see if I can record this and show you what I'm doing. Okay, so as you can see right here, we've still got 10 thousandths of play. 5. Okay, right there is zero lash. I'll reset this to 0 and then I'll lose what I had because it's locked in. Oh, you turkey. Moved it. Let's make sure everything's tight here. Stop moving. Okay, okay. Okay, we're close enough. So I've got 0 there. I already just moved there. Side to side. Oh, you can't see again. What is up with this? Take 49. We're at 0 lash. Let's see if you can stay focused. And there we get tight. So we're just over 100th. Am I saying that right? I still don't know if I'm saying that right. And that's about all she wrote there. So confirmation is I'm happy with that. So let's zoom you out. Get you back to something a little bit nicer to look at. Oh. Whoa. Some of you eagle-eyed viewers just caught me. I didn't even have the timing chain on yet, and I was over there messing around with the rockers. So I was going to go confirm I was on the base circle. I'm like, hold on a sec. How come the cam's not moving when I turn the crank? Well, that would be why. So I backtracked a little bit, and I'm fessing up to you that I made a stupid goof. Anyway, so now I'm caught back up, and I was on the base circle. 26 foot-pounds. I use blue Loctite on these too, just to be cautious. I've heard of they can back out, so I'd just assume that not happen. Comp sent me a nice C5R timing chain. So that's all done. Oh, and if you're one of those guys that likes overhead valves and cams, which I'm a Ford guy, so I get it. Look how easy it is to time one of these. A dot there and a dot there. That's it. They just got to line up. Professionals would degree the cam and make sure that the cam is what they said it was going to be and all that, but I've never had one not be correct. Not that I do this every day. If I did this every day, I would surely degree it and have those tools. And I'm sure you can make them at home for free. But anyway, point is, we're good to go here. So now I can for real tighten down the rockers and double check everything, and then we will go do the other side. Happy New Year, everyone. It's a couple days later, and I'm just finally getting back to this. I've been pretty busy, so haven't really had a time to work on the car. But today we're gonna finish up the rockers and push rods and all that stuff, and then we'll carry on with seat mounting, and from there I'm not sure yet, but you'll find out soon. Valve rocker arm bolts, 22 foot-pounds. All right, we'll give her a little spin by hand here and make sure everything's free and all our rockers are moving. Guys, get yourself some good girls that'll sweep and clean and help you, even when you don't deserve it. Look at this teamwork. Wow.
That was under the car. Show that to Dad and see if he needs that.
Okay, so I went to mount my seat and things are not going quite as I had hoped. I got my seat in, started messing with my harnesses, got those basically where I thought I wanted them. Grabbed my helmet, put my helmet on, and yikes. We're basically ramming our head into like 3 different bars up here. It would work if we didn't move, but my head will be bouncing around a little bit and I'll be banging on bars the whole time. Granted, they'd be covered in foam, not foam, padding, but the padding is thick enough that my head's just gonna be resting on it. So really, the only option I currently see is we still have a fair bit of room behind the seat if it weren't for the harness bar. So my plan is to cut out this harness bar and put a loop back so that I can get the seat to lay back further, which hopefully drops my head enough to where I'm not getting pounded by all these other bars. So I'm going to run this by the powers that be at my sanctioning body and make sure that they're cool with it, and then I'm going to cut that out and see what happens. Wish me luck. Okay, well, I got the go-ahead from the powers that be at Grid Life that I can cut the harness bar here to give us a little more clearance. So we're going to start by lopping just this section of the harness bar off, and then setting the seat where I want it to be, and then hoping I've got enough room for my head. If not, then we'll have to go a little deeper surgery. So we'll start with that. Oh, this is so much better seating position wise. I'll be able to run a nice spacer. My feet are way better. However, I think we still have an issue with these bars. Oh, do we have an issue? Okay, well, these bars have to go too.
Oh boy.
Which is going to be a lot of work. Well, the last few hours has not unfolded quite how I would have hoped. I had my fab guy over and things are not looking so good. No matter what we do, seat placement, obviously we cut that bar out. My head is still going to be millimeters at best from hitting the main hoop. So this cage is almost assuredly coming out. It's super frustrating. It's the reason I bought this car. And it's not the car's fault that I'm a big fella, but still pretty frustrating. But I guess the potential bright side is I've got the best fabricator cage builder I know of that sounds like he's on board for coming to help me out and crank this thing out next week. So we'll be documenting a cage install, I guess, on a custom cage install on a C5. So I guess that's something for you to look forward to, maybe. I'm not too thrilled about it because that stuff's not free. But I guess my safety is probably, it is the most important thing when you're racing, is safety for yourself and the others on the track. So we got to do it right, and I guess that's the right way to do it, is redo it. So stay tuned for that. All right, as you saw yesterday, I was pretty dejected and not real thrilled with the news that my big old body's not going to really fit in this thing as is. So basically at that point we had decided, let's cut this thing out and make one that's going to fit around a big guy. And before we do that, I want to try at least a couple things. So we're going to start with removing these bars. Are going to have to come out regardless of what we do. Where did my, what is wrong with this thing? Anyway, this bar and this bar are coming out regardless because they meet at the intersection of my head, and this is a whole bunch of stuff that just gets in the way. So they're coming out regardless, so I'm going to cut those out, re-sit down, figure out what kind of clearance I have just to the main hoop, and we'll re-engineer that if I'm lucky enough. Next thing to try is to cut out the floor, and the floor is 3/4 of an inch thick, and then basically my seat would be just attached directly to the cross members that go below the floor. We'd have to add some and build some and box it all in and everything. So those are the things we're going to try first to see if we can salvage what's here, because what's here is not terrible. Some of the welds aren't great, but most of them are fine. But there's a few little boogers, but And the design isn't terrible. It will definitely work, but we're gonna have to get creative on the crossbar and the down tube if we're to make this work. So you get to watch me. I'm gonna try out one of these Diablo carbide blades. I'm kind of excited to see how that goes. If you probably know Diablo, it makes some good stuff for cutting things. So we're gonna give that a shot. In case you're wondering here, I'm not too concerned about how nice these cuts are. These are just rough cuts just to get bars out of the way. So, and I'm obviously trying to stay off the main hoop here, because that's the foundation of the whole cage. So don't mind me, these are just gonna be fast, quick cuts that aren't really necessarily the perfect final cut. Son of a gun. Whee! All the leg room, all the arm room, still not enough room up here, I'm afraid. No. No. And it's not close either. This is our floor. It's like 3/4 or 5/8 maybe plywood sandwiched with some weird material. I'm not sure, some kind of composite, something or other. So that's on both sides, and then wood in the middle. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's true. So if I cut this out and get us down to basically sitting on these supports, that gains us about 3/4 of an inch. Which part of me thinks that's definitely worth a try, but I also know 3/4 of an inch probably isn't enough, because we also got to fit roll bar padding on the roll bar, and so my head's going to be basically touching anyway. So the next idea is maybe try and build a seat bracket out of this that's down even a little bit further. The scary part of that is then my butt is basically on the road. All right, first off, I drilled from the bottom just on this side of that main bracket down here just to see where it lines up on the inside. And now obviously I've drilled a bunch more just so I can make a decent cut and get my blade in there. So I'm going to start by cutting at least a little bit out of the floor and see where that leads me. So we're going to start with that and see what happens. All right. I committed, and here we are on the bottom of the car. I've cut out a relatively small portion so far, and this basically gets us down to level or a little bit beyond level with this crossbeam, which we'll obviously have to add and reinforce and do a whole bunch of stuff. But I'm gonna hop in now and see what that's done for us, and then if I need to go lower, we'll just cut a little bit more out the front, and that'll lower us even more. I'm nervous. I'm hoping we can make this work. This will save a lot of time and money, but I'm also not the most optimistic that it's going to help enough. Boys, we might be onto something here. This is maybe acceptable actually. I'm gonna have to get probably some thin roll bar padding. The stuff I have is super thick, which is preferable, and we'll use that elsewhere. But I can go a little further down if we need to still, but I think this might save us a ton of work. I'm sitting, if you can't tell, I'm sitting really low in the car. I'm below the car with a portion of my buttocks. However, for being this low, and I sit low in my other car, but not this low. That one still has seat brackets and this and that. Whereas this one, we are below the floor. Luckily I can still see over here, so when Andy Smedegard tries to crash into me, I can avoid him. Actually, it's probably more likely going to be DJ. I think he probably owes me one or two from the virtual world. So I'll need a steering wheel spacer, and probably going to get a different steering wheel too. This one's a 350 millimeter, and it is way bigger than I like. I run a 300 millimeter in my other car, so for now I'll probably just put that one in here to not spend any money, and see how that goes. But we'll need a pretty good sized steering wheel spacer because that one's a flat. This one's got a dish too, so we'll probably need a 3 or 4 inch spacer to get the wheel up where I like it. Shifter should be good. Pedals feel good. Dude, I'm pretty thrilled actually. We still have a fair bit of work, and this is out of my scope of ability. I don't have a bender, I don't have a tubing notcher. Luckily I've got a buddy who can come help me, and he's very, very good at it, so I can trust his work, and I think we're gonna have to cut some stuff still. I think we're just gonna have to cut new reliefs for the harnesses in my seat. Maybe I might not even run a seat cushion now. I'm not completely sure yet, but this is encouraging news. I'm gonna try my helmet on one more time. Yeah, I can live with this for sure. Got quite a bit of room. So that makes me thrilled. By the way, if you're gonna buy a Roo helmet, make sure, Rooks, whatever it is, try it on first. They are not very comfortable in my opinion. I'm hoping to resolve that, but it's a little shaping. Anyway, guys, I'm pretty thrilled. I'm way down in here, but it's where I like to be anyway. I like to sit low. I still have enough visibility to the front. I mean, most people would be appalled when they see how I sit in my other car for autocross. You have to know where the cone is long before you get to it, because it disappears pretty fast because you're sitting so low and the hood sticks out. This one I'm sitting even lower, so it's a good thing there's big wings everywhere so I can see everybody. Well guys, that's obviously a huge relief, and I'm much happier than I was. My wife's probably happier because now I'm not a snotty little jerk walking around the house with one thing on my mind. Anyway, thank you for watching. Consider subscribing and sharing. Bang some buttons. Thanks guys, appreciate it.